Okay, now Steffi will tell me when I'm live. Am I live? Steffi said I'm live, so we're going out and we're going into the sun. And let me see, we have a white wall and there we have Anouk and you guys. Hey guys, how are you? The first thing I have to do, and I hate this to do this to you guys, I have to wear sunglasses. Yeah, so, isn't this cool? Hey, welcome to Digital Classroom, and we have a very special broadcast now because we are literally next to our studio. This is close to home. Now, one of the things that you will see on location, people will go everywhere to shoot great images, and they go like, yeah, I will go over there to make an image, I will go over there to make an image, and often they forget that the most beautiful spaces are actually in your backyard. And this is literally the backyard of our studio. This is one of the studio walls. And we have some more surprises for you guys over there. And of course we have our model. Now, why am I wearing this? Normally in the Netherlands, we don't have a lot of sun. Actually, the last Digital Classroom where we wanted to go outside, remember that one? Just when we started, it started raining. So that's something you have to counteract. So in other words, if you know you do an outside shoot and you know you have the chance of rain, make sure you have an alternative inside. We only had to break down the broadcast for like 5 minutes and then we were actually able to go inside and do the photo shoot there. But today it looks way too sunny and bright for me. So I'm wearing my vampire outfit. So, and of course, if you want proper education for Photoshop, for Capture One, for photo shoots, make sure that you stay hooked on Digital Classroom because we're going to do everything. The other thing that you guys can do is interact. So during the broadcast, you can ask questions, you can type your remarks, stuff you want to learn. But remember, I'm outside at the moment, so I don't see the monitor inside. So Steffi, if there's something really important, will actually come to me and will tell me, hey Frank, there was something really important, so you have to answer that question. And otherwise, wait until the end of this photo shoot. Then I will walk inside, we do a little commercial because I have to take a break and I have to go to my computer. And during that commercial break, I will read all the questions very quickly and I will try to answer them. So, are you ready guys? Because this is another episode of Digital Classroom. Now there's one thing that you need in a proper photo shoot. You need lighting. Well, we have the best light available, the sun. The other thing you need is a camera. And I actually don't have my camera with me. So Brian, could you please run in and grab my camera? Because without a camera, we have a problem. Oh yeah. So the other thing you need, of course, is a model. And where do we have a model? I think we have a model over here. Hey Sanne, how are you?
Hi, fine, thank you.
Awesome. So, can you stand against the wall, please? Okay, now the first thing we're going to try to do is we're actually going to show you guys how to do a proper setup for natural lighting. So, natural lighting, how do we do that? Very, very simple. You follow the sun. Now, the sun is over there, and it means that the light is actually hitting my model like this. You can see all the stripes there. You will also see that behind the model there's a shadow on the wall. That shadow is pretty cool because you can work with it. Now you do have to remember, don't let your model turn away from the sun because her face will be dark. You can of course let her turn away from the sun, but then you have to open up your exposure or of course use a light meter, which we're going to do later on. The camera I'm going to use today is a Sony A7R II and we have the new Skyport on. And there's a reason we have the new Skyport on, for the very simple reason. We're also going to shoot HS, meaning high speed. And that's really cool because nowadays, with the new Quadra and a new HS system and the new Skyport, you don't have to stay on 125th of a second. And with this kind of lighting, that's very cool. Okay, now before we shoot, I still have to thank some guys. And the first one we have to thank, of course, is BenQ. Now, BenQ makes great monitors and makes it possible that we can do Digital Classroom for you guys for free. Because imagine this, a 2-hour broadcast, totally for free with instructional material. That's really cool. The other one is Rogue Expo Imaging. Those are both our main sponsors. So Rogue, of course, recently released the Frank Doorhof Flash Bender. Awesome product. But, well, it's my product, so of course it's awesome. I mean, of course I say it's awesome, but it's pretty good. Okay, so now how do I see the images coming in? That's actually where we're gonna go, and I want to show you that very quickly. So Brian, can you turn the camera so they can see? We actually have a monitor set up here. And in all honesty, it's so incredibly bright, I don't even see the monitor. But let me see if I have connection. Yes, we have connection. And luckily, my Sony has an EVF. And it means that I can actually see the images coming in. So, I don't worry. Unless the images don't come in, but then somebody will shout like, hey, you lost connection. Okay, Sanne, after all that talk, are you ready for the first shots?
Yes.
Okay. Now, watch very closely. You can do it many ways. You can shoot manual with a light meter. You can do whatever you want. But in all honesty, when I shoot with natural lighting, I will just shoot AV mode. So let's go to AV mode. And let's set it up for, let's say I want shallow depth of field, but not too much. So let's go to f4. Now, why don't you use a light meter? Because I'm the guy who always uses light meters, right? Well, these kind of shots I want to do fast, and I know with a natural light shot I'm only going to use 1 or 2. So I don't use a light meter for this per se, and I want to show you guys very quickly what we do. Okay, Sanne, can you look down, please? Now look my way. Very nice. Okay, let's take the first shot. Now, the first shot that comes in, you will see, is utterly crap. Doesn't look right. And there are a lot of problems with this shot. But the main problem is, I let my model look down. And I let my model look somewhere where there is only shadow covering her eyes. So you get those, what we sometimes call raccoon eyes, meaning they're totally dark. Now, if you like raccoons, no, don't even go there. So, or panda bears, whatever. So what I have to do is make sure that we don't have those nasty shadows. Now, if I look now at my model, I don't know if, and we can zoom in a little bit, you can actually see that she has all these shadows on her face. And it makes it look a little bit, it's not nice. Now, if I let my model look straight into the sun, close your eyes and look into the sun. Look at that, now you can see the lines coming from actually our ceiling, because this is normally where the RV is parked. So you can see all those lines going over her face, looks pretty good. The thing that I don't want to do is let my model look straight into the sun. So I always ask her, please close your eyes. So let's start with that. Look up and close your eyes. Really nice. Love it. I have to make sure that the strobe doesn't fire. So let's turn that off first. Okay, really nice. Love it. Okay, and I love those lines. I love the lines from the natural lighting because that gives the shot something special. Now let me see if the images actually come in. And they are great. Love those lines. Now remember that in photography, leading lines and lines are one of the most interesting things in a photograph. Without lines, I don't know, it's boring. And there are always lines, but make sure you make those lines work for you. So in this case, if you have something that casts a line like this, make sure that your model is in the proper position and that the line doesn't go boom, straight through her face. So let's try some more. Okay, look up. And can you do something with your arms? Just to, yes, there we go. Now make sure that I also see her second arm. So yes, there we go. It looks pretty cool. Really nice. Try a lower angle, there we go. Can you tilt your body a little bit much towards me? There we go, and I'll look up again. Love this. And of course, because I'm using a zoom lens, I can actually also zoom in and create some more close-up shots. This is cool. This is just working with natural light. Now, what is the most important thing what you do when you go retouching with this stuff? You have to make sure that there's no color cast. So if I move my model from here to there, I have to make sure that the colors are consistent. So I have the same color over and over again. That's why we use a little tool called the Color Checker Passport. Brian, can you get my Color Checker Passport, please? Now, this is one of the tools that's, especially in my workflow, incredibly important. But I use it, because I use Capture One, as a white balance tool. If you use Lightroom, you can actually create profiles. Now this is the Color Checker Passport. Now what are those Apple logos on there? It's black, and in a totally dark studio you can actually lose it very quickly. So we use those Apple logos to make sure it stands out. How do you take the shot? It's incredibly simple. You just let your model hold it as flat as possible and don't put your fingers on the stuff and tell the model it's not a makeup box or candy or whatever. Really nice. You focus and you tell your model, make a funny face. 1, 2, 3, go. And that part is very important. They have to make a funny face, otherwise it won't work. There we go. Okay, so now we've done something with natural lighting, which is pretty cool. Now let's start using strobes. Because with natural lighting, everything is lit the way that it's supposed to be, right? Because we're shooting natural lighting. Now, as soon as we start adding strobes, we can do something that a lot of people do in Photoshop. Like if you look at that last shot, it would be nice if there would be like a vignetting around my model. Vignetting is when it drops off to dark or bright, but I like dark. So let's say you want a vignetting about it. You can do that in Photoshop, but somehow with natural lighting, the images are a little bit softer than with strobes. So I like my images to really pop, my model to pop out, and that's when we start using strobes. Now, everything still going right with the stream?
You disconnected.
I disconnected my camera, that's not good. So let's see if we can connect the camera very quickly again. And I think it should be okay now. Let's make a picture very quickly. Okay, look a little bit more up. Awesome. Really nice. Images are coming in again, Steffi? Awesome. That's why we work with a team. So if my camera got disconnected, they just come up to me. Frank, your camera got disconnected. Awesome. Okay, so for the next shot, we're going to use the Quadra. Now, the Quadra is a really nice battery pack from Elinchrom. We use the ELBs with lithium-ion batteries. They're really lightweight, and at the moment they're already incredibly hot. And we're using a new Tether Tools device. And with this device, we can actually mount it on our stands. So, normally when I put my lights all the way up, I will literally lose my cable because I don't have enough cable. So what you can do is you can now add it here. Oh, let me do that very quickly for you guys. And with two people, this normally works way better. And you just close it. There we go. And it clamps itself to your stand. Don't do it too tight. Tight is tight. There we go. Because you also want to use your stands after this, and otherwise you'll get a dent in your stand. Okay, so let's turn this one on. It's already on. Now, the most important thing is we have to aim the light at our model. Let's start with really flat lighting. The cool thing is also, because the Quadra is now on my stand, I can literally pick this up and move it around without wondering where's my Quadra, or do I drag my Quadra around the floor. So this is a really cool device from Tether Tools. Okay, let's aim the light at our model. Now, we have to make sure that the model is in the hot spot. Now, if we're using a grid, like you can see here, I can very simply ask the model, can you look straight through the grid? Because if she can look straight through the grid, she's actually in the hot spot. So, Sanne, can you look straight through the grid? Okay, is this better or worse?
Better.
Much better?
Yeah.
And about this?
Yeah. No.
A little bit more up?
Yeah.
Yep, there we go. So now I know she's in the hot spot, or at least close to. Okay, Brian, can you grab me my light meter, please? Because now we need a light meter. Okay, now the limitation of shooting outside is actually that, let's start with the old system. You have a so-called X synchronization. That's the fastest your shutter can work with external strobes. So not system strobes, but external strobes, like the Quadra, Rangers, or Studio strobes. And that's normally around 125, 160. If you shoot higher, you will actually get a black bar on top. That's your second shutter curtain, because what happens, your mirror locks up, your first shutter curtain opens, the whole sensor is lit, and then the second shutter curtain closes. Now, if you shoot too fast, before the first shutter curtain is actually already at the end of your sensor, the second one follows, and actually the black bar is your first shutter curtain that you see, because it's not already there. So, how do I meter this? The first thing you have to realize is there's a lot of sun at the moment. So I will first do a base meter. That means I will meter my ambient light, and for that I will actually aim towards the sun. Now, how do you set up your meter? I will walk a little bit closer to Anouk so she can see. Can you see the meter, Anouk? Do you have it? Yeah. Okay, so what I do is I will go to the sun mode, and I will go to time time priority ISO 100. But let's, for this time, change my ISO to 50 because that's the lowest my camera will go. So now I know 125 on ISO 50. So now I'm going to make a standard meter reading to meter the ambient light. And I'm at f8.08. Now that means that I'm almost at f11. I'm at f8.8. So that means 2/10 of an f-stop away from f11. That means if I put my strobe on f11, I will get what we call fill-in flash, or not actually fill-in flash, it's about equal to the ambient light. So you could consider that fill-in flash because you use the ambient light and you fill it in with strobes. So I don't want to put it on f11. We want that real nice boom effect. So let's turn the strobe on, let's say f16. So there we go. So how does that work? We put the meter back to strobe metering. And now we have to make sure that that light actually meters f16. So there we go. Let me see how much power this Quadra has. f16. And that's weird. I kid you not, guys. This was not rehearsed. I literally metered f16 straight on, and we just threw the Quadra in here. And no, Elinchrom is not that intelligent that it hears what I want it to do. Now, one thing, it could be that my ambient light is overpowering my strobe without me knowing it. So what I have to do is I will make a small adjustment to my strobe. It's now 4.9. Let's go down to 4.6. Now, if I'm correct, my meter should meter lower than f16. 11.5. Awesome. That means that my ambient light is lower than my strobe. So let's go up again. 5 clicks. Great. Now, why do I do this? Sometimes you take a meter reading from the sun and there's a cloud in front. Then the cloud goes away, you put your strobes in and you realize, that looks bad. For the very simple reason you're actually shooting with ambient light and just a little bit of strobe. So make sure that if you set your strobes off and you want to make sure that your strobes are recorded and not the ambient light, you take a meter reading and then you lower your strobe like half a stop and you take another meter reading. If that meter reading is half a stop lower, you know you're not metering the ambient light. Now let's say I put my strobe on f16, I take a meter reading, I say, yeah, great. Now I lower it half a stop and it's still f16. It means actually that I did something wrong, because that means that the ambient light is f16. Now we did a base metering, remember? So I already knew that this was gonna go okay. Okay, so let's take my light meter over there, take the camera, and what I have to do is put it, of course, on ISO 50. That's very important. But first put it on manual mode. And then we go to ISO 50 and f16. There we go. Now if you want to know one of the disadvantages of an EVF camera, it's when I'm shooting with sunglasses, the EVF is pretty dark. But we'll manage. Okay, first let's do a close-up. Look a little bit that way, but not too much. There we go. Now with a close-up you won't see that much difference from the ambient light. Now why don't you see that much difference from the ambient light? For the very simple reason, the ambient light and the strobe are both light sources. So there will be differences, but not that much. Now as soon as I start zooming out, that's when you're gonna see the difference, because I'm using a grid, so I'm using focused light. Okay, and now you can actually look down. You see those nasty shadows? Now watch this if I use strobes. I disconnected my camera again? Oh my. Okay. Did you see the one with the natural light, Steffi?
The first 4 and 5, and then when you shot the color checker, it stops.
Okay. No problem. Okay, so we're gonna do the zoom in first. There we go. Okay, if I'm correct, the image is now dust coming in?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the one where you shoot with strobes and not with natural light. Brian, could you check the monitor that the images keep coming in? Okay, so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to use that strobe. So look straight at me if you want. Really nice. Now you can see that my model still, if you look at her straight on, she still has those shadows, but because we're using strobes, those shadows magically disappear. And that's because we're using strobes to light up everything, and we're way above the ambient light. Now, how does it look if we incorporate the sky, I hear you ask? Let's do that. Let's make a light setup where we use accent lighting from the side and very simply make sure that we got a great image. I have to check what's going on. Is it still okay, guys? It keeps disconnecting? Yeah. Okay. I have to tell you guys, we have a lot of cables connected to each other, so I don't know why it keeps disconnecting, but we're working on that, and otherwise we just keep connecting it, so don't worry, you won't miss a shot. So the first thing we're now going to do is change the light setup. Now what we have to do is make sure that we know where the sun is. The sun is over there. So I don't want to place my light over here, because that gives you really weird shadows. You get shadows going from that side and from that side, and that's just weird. Now you don't have to put the strobe in exactly the same position as the sun, but let's call it in the corner of the sun, in Team Sun, if you know what I mean. Team Sun? We're Team Sun. Yeah. And it's not Chinese or Japanese. We're in Team Sun. So let's make it that team. So this is Team Dark, that is Team Sun. So I have to place my light in this team area. Okay, let's move it a little bit closer to my model. Let's aim it. I'm slightly gonna feather it, so I'm not gonna ask her if she can see through the light. I'm just gonna feather it. Now the hot spot will actually be around here, and my model is there, so I'm feathering my light away. I'm still gonna use the light meter, of course. And we're gonna meter, and this is the cool thing about metering, you always meter in front of the area you want correctly lit. So, let's meter. If everything's still okay, Anouk?
I think so.
Okay, cool. So, let's meter in front of the area we want correctly lit, and that's actually her face. 16.5, now that's pretty high, right? Let's go up, 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now why do I go up? Because we can. And I will explain to you in a moment why. Okay, so we're now on f22. Okay, let's make sure that we still have a connection. Brian, can you still see the camera? Yep. Okay. First shot. And I'm not going to include everything yet. f22. Nice shot. Nothing wrong. But what's the eyes of the model? You can see that they're all the way on the side. And that's not so nice. I got disconnected again, so let's connect. Okay, I'm going to explain to you guys, we're all the way outside from our studio, and we're actually using like 4 or 5 extension cords. And we did test it, it did work. In the break, we're going to actually connect some power to the cables. So let's make sure that it works better then. Okay, let's take a shot. Make sure you center your eyes. Okay, now at the first shot, I hope that shot came in. You saw that she was looking to the side, and you see her eyes all the way in the corner. Ah, disconnected again. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's hope that the images now do come in. Does it come in now, Brian? You're kidding me. Okay, let me see if we can fix this really fast, guys. So I'm gonna turn off the camera. And we're gonna check all the cables. Because we do need a connection, of course. Okay, we are connecting, so it should work now. Is it connected?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if the image wants to come in. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick retouch of the natural light images. In the meantime, my team is going to disconnect the cables and is going to add a small power booster, so we actually have more power to the cable. Or Anouk, can you do that straight away? Yeah. Okay, we're going to do that straight away. So what Anouk is doing now is we also have a very simple power booster, and that power booster actually powers the cable. Now, we do need a little bit of power, of course, to a USB cable, because otherwise you lose connection. Now, when we tried it out, we didn't need the power, so we thought everything was okay, but it seems like it isn't. So let's see if we can connect now easy. So now we have a lot of power on the cable. Okay, do you have a connection now?
Yep.
Okay, now let's see if the images come in. That's weird. Okay, we're gonna first do a retouch of the natural light image, and then I will be back with you guys, probably with a slightly shorter cable. So I'm gonna run inside, we're gonna start a commercial, and actually the commercial we're gonna start for you guys is the commercial about my absolutely great video, well, I think it's great, on the light meter. So Steffi, if you can take it away, I'm gonna walk inside. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now, in the first video, I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now, in digital photography, I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now in this video I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website. Okay, we connected a power booster actually to the first part of the cable because we have 2 tether boosters in the cable, and it seems that that solved the problem. So first want to do actually the live shoot. So let's try it again and let's see if the images now keep coming in. So first, let my model look straight at me. Image should come in now, and you can actually see that we now have a nice and proper exposure on the model. I disconnected again. Okay, we're gonna quit this. We're gonna go inside and first show you the retouch. So, Steffi, if you can start our promo actually for the BenQ monitor, and I will come in. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof, and I want to tell you today about the new 27-inch monitor from BenQ. Now, I'm a fashion photographer, and I like my colors to be as they are in real life, because I do my best to light my scene correctly, to style the scene, to have great makeup, great model. And then I see my images on a monitor and they look like, well, very dull. Well, that can happen to you too, and it will probably happen to you. You know the problem? Your monitor is not up to spec. Now, a monitor isn't a monitor. It's not something that just shows you the image. There are many different kinds of monitors. Like TV sets, your very expensive ones, which will give you better image quality, right? Now, with computer monitors, we always tell people it's all about the color space. For example, you have an sRGB monitor, or for the professionals, an Adobe RGB monitor. But if you don't know what that means, it doesn't make any sense. Now, let me make it simple. These are the colors in real life. So this is what you capture, right? It's great, it's vibrant, it's saturated, it's real life. Now, an sRGB monitor, it's a really small color space. And that's okay for the web or for a laptop or just simply browsing your images. But if you want those more vibrant colors, you need something a little bit bigger. And that's an Adobe RGB color space. It's just a bigger color space. But it also means that the monitor has to show those colors. Now, in the past, those monitors were pretty expensive, especially a 27-inch. And BenQ really made me enthusiastic about this monitor because it's very affordable. It's delivered with a hood. So in other words, it will cut down on your glare. And it's, well, I can give you all the bells and whistles about it. Like, it has all the inputs you need. It has all the specs. It's 99% Adobe RGB. But in the end, it all boils down to one thing: image quality. And I'm very picky. And as you can see, it's my main editing monitor at the moment. So I'm very enthusiastic about the monitor. If you are looking for a great monitor and you want something in the 27-inch, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on it, check out the new BenQ 27-inch. And for me, the most important thing is that it has a hardware calibration option, meaning you use their own software and you use a calibrator. And you can really make sure that the reds are as red as they are intended. Now, I know a lot of monitors come with this sheet, like, I'm calibrated in the factory. That's great, but it doesn't make any sense because your computer is different. So you have to recalibrate. Now, when do you recalibrate? I always recalibrate before a very important retouch session. For example, if I have to do a wedding or a fashion shoot, I will just let my monitor warm up for half an hour or an hour, do the calibration, and then I do my retouching. That way, I know for sure that my colors are accurate. So BenQ, job well done. I'm very happy with the monitor. And you guys, if you're in the market for a new monitor, check out the new BenQ series because they're really knocking one out of the ballpark with this series. Now, I promised to do the retouching first, but we decided in the commercial break, let's very quickly disconnect one extension cable and see if we can still manage. So I changed the light setup because now actually I can't make my run all the way over there because I'm too short. Well, I'm not too short, my cables. So let's do this. Okay, look down just a little bit. So I'm having now more accent lighting. And as you can see, that gives a really nice accent on the model. Now, why do I have that f22? Because I want to make sure that the sky is nice and dark. So I'm going to shoot from a lower angle up and include some of the sky. And get a really nice, I hope, spectacular result. Okay, now you can see that the strobe is in the frame. I don't want that, of course. So what I will do is I will change my angle just a little bit to here. Get just a hint of the sky, and the strobe is still in the frame. So how do you solve that? This is all about the angles of shooting. And the angles of shooting is also important, of course, for video, because you guys want me in the frame and the model in the frame. So what do you have to do when you want to make sure that you hit your light perfectly? Remember those angles. So before you set your light up, make like a line. Where from can I shoot? And then you very quickly find out that this is actually a way better position. So I'm shooting slightly up and then aiming my camera down. So now I have that more high contrast look. Okay, so let's change the light and make it a little bit less dramatic so that I can also include the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my light source, and this is of course now blocking my light, so the sky actually. So I'm going to move it here, and of course I have to remeter, but now it's out of the line of sight for my camera. So let's meter. Can you look into the light? A little bit that way. Okay. There we go, 16.6. So let's add 4 clicks. 1, 2. And oh my, it's on full power. And that's the problem outside. If you want to shoot on f22 ISO 50, you run out of power very quickly. The light meter, well, at this point, I can retire the light meter. I'm very sorry, guys. But what I'm now going to show you can't be done with a light meter. Because now I'm going to show you how the HS system works. Now, the new Skyport and the new Quadras, they have a number and it's called HS, meaning high sync. Now, what does it do? I always call it high speed, but it's not high speed, it's high sync. What it makes possible is to shoot above that 125th of a second. So I can't shoot on f22 at the moment, so I have to shoot on f16.5. What is f16.5? Well, that's about f20. Let's make it a little bit better. Let's go down actually in power and let's go down to f16. There we go. Now I put my camera on f16 and I'm going to show you what you can do with shutter speeds. So let's put the camera on f16. Okay. f16, ISO 50. Okay, first shot. There we go, but let's say we want it more dramatic. We want that sky to be totally dark. So let's go up in shutter speed. Let's start with 1/400th of a second. And Week, am I still in the frame?
Yes, you are.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm also going to shoot under a slightly different angle to make it more interesting. There we go. Now we have that high contrast look. We have an almost black model. And we have a beautiful, beautiful accent light. Yeah. Let's make it a little bit more flat. Let's pick up the strobe, move it here. Because now, because we can shoot at such high shutter speed, we can actually also play around with the strobe. Do you need to re-meter, Frank? No, you can't use the light meter anymore, and we'll explain inside why. Love it. Can you look into the light, please? Really nice. But it's a little bit dark. So let's open up the shutter speed. Let's go to 1/200th of a second. There we go. This is nicer. Now the thing that you see is also the strobe seems to get more light. That's weird, but it isn't. Because with the high sync system, you're actually cutting your strobe. Meaning on 125th, if you change your shutter speed to a 60th, a 30th, or a 15th, or a second, the strobe will be equal. If you use a high speed system or a high sync system, the strobe will actually also diminish in power. The only thing is, when I look at the background, it's a little bit bright, right? Oh, sorry, it's a little bit sharp. I want to shoot day to night on f2.8. Is that possible? Yes, but you have to figure it out. You have to go. So let's go first to 2.8, a really nice shallow depth of field, and then just raise the shutter up until, well, let's say 1/4000th of a second. Maybe that will cut the strobe enough to give me shallow depth of field and proper exposure. Really nice. What you can see actually is that my model is now too hot. I'm getting too much light from my strobes, and I have to put the strobe down. And I can do that with the remote control in the Skyport, of course. Okay, there we go. Awesome. This is really nice. Chin up and eyes closed. Really nice. Love it. And nose a little bit more that way, towards the strobe. A little bit more to it. Yes, there we go, you get it. Awesome. So now what I did is something that was not possible like a year ago with the Elinchrom system. I'm actually shooting 2.8 with a lot of strobe, and I'm cutting the ambient light out totally. And the background is nice and soft and out of focus. So let's go inside and see what we can do by retouching these shots. So, but in between, I want to tell you guys about something really cool. In October, we have a new Ultimate Weekend. Now, what is the Ultimate Weekend? The Ultimate Weekend is without a doubt one of the best workshops on the planet. Yeah, we always overdo it a little bit. But it's an awesome workshop. It's 2 full days, actually 1 day from 10 till 9, and we even take you out for dinner on our cost. And the second day is actually from 10 till 4. And we do everything you always wanted to know about model photography. We do duo shoots, single shoots, we do everything about light metering, retouching, business tips, social media. The list goes on and on and on. And it's only 2 days and a small group because you don't want to be part of a shooting gallery. You want to make sure that you get that real nice one-on-one attention. So Steffi, take it away for our Ultimate Weekend trailer. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I'm the writer of Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, during workshops, I always try to teach as much as I know, but workshops are limited to only 1 day, of course. That's why we actually invented the Ultimate Weekend. 14 and 15 October in our studio in Emmeloord, we have another Ultimate Weekend. Now, what is the Ultimate Weekend? I always tell people it's the ultimate workshop. It's 2 jam-packed days with everything you always wanted to know about model photography. We don't only do lighting setups. We do lighting setups, understanding lighting, retouching, business tips, social media. We do a small portfolio review. We do duo shoots, single shoots. We build a small set. We use smokes, light blasters, alternative light sources. We go outside. We do it inside. And we have dinner. It's an amazing day on day 1. And it's an amazing day on day 2 because this is actually 2 days. Now, how does it look? Very simple. We start at 10 o'clock in the morning on day 1 and we end at 9 o'clock at night. The second day is from 10 till 4. It's a small group, so there's no shooting zoo. Like you have many workshops, right? You pay a lot of money for a workshop, you come in and there are 40 other people all swarming around the model and the photographer tries to handle everything. No, these are small groups, maximum between 8 and 10 people. So there's a really one-on-one attention. Plus, we also have assistants there. So if you have any questions, they will help you out too. It's a very streamlined setup and a lot of attention for detail. There's also Q&A at the start. You can ask whatever you want and those questions will be incorporated into the workshop. So this is maximizing your time and of course also the learning experience. So if you want to be there in Emmeloord, make sure to register on the link you see here and start learning a lot. Because trust me, the ultimate weekend, you will end up with a tsunami in your head of knowledge. This is without any doubt the most intense workshop you will find anywhere on the market. So see you in Emmeloord at the ultimate weekend. Cheers guys, it's incredibly hot. I don't sweat a lot, but I do now, and that's all for you guys. Hey, so we're in the studio and we got some questions. So let me start up Steffi's phone because she actually got it on her phone. What's the difference in power between a strobe and small flash and how do you compensate for the loss in light? The small flash system has a really cool option and that's actually called high speed sync. That means that HSS system actually does the same thing that I just did with the Quadra. So you can shoot on a high shutter speed and make sure that you cut out the ambient light. And that's cool about small flash systems because they talk back to the camera, they have a really cool integration. Now the problem with high speed sync systems is actually that it takes a lot of battery power and it also cuts the power of the strobe. So what I would advise is at least 2 packs on top of each other. So 2 of those strobes, and you can use Expo Imaging actually has a plastic band for their gels. And you can just tape 2 of those strobes together with that plastic band. Do make sure that the controls don't hit each other. So the controls on the outside, if you put them on the inside, all weird stuff can happen. The other question was, why don't you use a C-stand on location? This is a question and I'm sure you're an American. A lot of the Americans ask us, C-stands aren't that usual over here. We mostly use D-stands. And in the studio we actually use poly stands from Elinchrom. But C-stands we don't use a lot over here. So most of the stands we use are actually these Manfrottos. And the other question is, can you also shoot on the first shutter curtain? Yes, you can, but it doesn't really make a difference in the case of what we do outside, because we can actually shoot pretty much everything with the Elinchrom HS system. And before that, if you would change your first curtain, it wouldn't make any difference for the sky ports. So yes and no, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so now what you see here is actually my work setup. Now, over here, and we're doing this via webcam, so there will be a slight delay between my audio and video. I'm just kidding with you guys. So there will be a slight delay between my audio and video. Now my setup here, and maybe Afra can switch to the full view of the webcam, if you know how it works. So we now have our intern desperately trying to figure out what I want. I want the full view of the Logitech Anouk. So I can show the guys. Yes, and then switch. There we go. So what I have over here is the Wacom Cintiq. It's a 27-inch HD. It's freaking awesome. It's very, very addictive. I remember Aaron Blaze, a friend of ours, actually told me it's as addictive as it can get. And it is. I kid you not. I've been drawing on it. I've been retouching on it. It's absolutely awesome. And I know I use awesome way too much, but this really deserves awesome. Now, if you buy one of these, make sure you include the stand I have it on. Because with the normal Cintiq, it actually lays on the floor and you have feet that can lift it up. That's okay, but it's not perfect. This stand is actually pretty cool because you can actually do this. So you can do whatever position you want. Now the TLs are on, how do we call it in English? The fluorescents are on. And I have some glare, so I have it a little bit more straight than I would normally work. Normally I would have it like this. So a little bit more flat so I can lean on it. And now when I'm all sweaty, I don't want to lean on it. So I will just put it up just a little bit. Okay, so let's go through the images and I will show you on each image what I think about the image, why I choose the image. And then we're going to retouch some in Photoshop and actually also in Capture One. And we're going to show you how I do that and how to get a different look. So let's switch to our full screen of the computer. And then we can start the retouching session. There we go. Very good, Afra. You're learning it. Awesome. We're going to have a lot of fun for her. Okay, so let's first go to our shots. And if you use Capture One or you use Lightroom, don't worry. It's about the same. There's not a real big difference between Lightroom and Capture One. It's actually all about your preference in, I always tell people it's the preference in raw developing. I like Capture One a little bit more for raw developing. Some people like Capture One a little bit more for example, the retouching. And I agree, it's pretty cool what you can do. And some people just prefer Lightroom, and it's all good. Okay, so the first shot, no way. I'm not going to use this. Over here in the eyes, it's way too dark. As you can see here, it's terrible. Don't want to use that one. Let's go to the next one. This one is okay for a natural light shot. Let's see if the focus is okay. Focus is pretty good, so we can use this one. I actually also like this one. You see that and this is one of the things that I absolutely adore about Capture One. It's very quick to check focus, and it can be even quicker if you do this view and then show focus mask. Everything that's green is probably in focus. So that's a pretty cool trick. And it's just way faster than Lightroom, and that's why I prefer this. Okay, let me see this one. Now, I love this shot. It's tech sharp. The only thing is I don't like the shadow here. And this one is pretty cool. Now this was the first one with strobes. As you can see, this is a totally different look. Let's take one from the Natural Light series. And then I think this one has something that's really cool and that we can enhance with alien skin. So let's take this one. Okay, this was the first one with strobes, not that interesting. I actually love this one. Somehow I like the lines over here. So let's give that 5 stars. This is way too depressed for me, so now this one I'm gonna delete. And a week has a question. Okay, my usual white balance when using strobes is the color checker. We shoot the color checker because we want to make sure that the images have the proper white balance. Now, I shot the color checker and my camera got disconnected, so that means that I don't have the shot of the color checker here. I now find out to my horror. Now, don't worry, don't panic, don't run away. We'll fix this very simply, and don't tell anybody else, especially don't tell X-Rite. If you forgot your color checker and you want to make sure that everything has the same look, watch this. Let me take this one. You find something that gives you a nice, proper look. There we go. Maybe a little bit too bluish. Let's go here. Love this. And now you just copy that to all the images. Is it correct? No, it's not, because I didn't shoot the color checker. But at least all the images have the same wrong colors, and then you have a style. So if you make a mistake, you're dumb. If you make the mistake twice, you're very dumb. If you make the mistake 3 times, you're incredibly dumb. And if you make it all the time, you have a style. Okay, so this image is okay. Now here we talked about including your light source in the picture, right? By accident. Now it's all about angles. As you can see here, when I change my angle lower, I can actually see the sky, and this one is taken out very quickly. Now this is an interesting shot because I love her face, but everything on the back I don't like. I need a shallower depth of field, but oh my, do I love this expression of her. This is absolutely stunning, look at that. And it's tech sharp. Oh my, that's a shame that the background is, well, we can fix that in Photoshop, by the way. We can blur the background, but it looks fake. But just to be sure, let's give it 5 stars. Okay, so now we move the strobes away. We got a more front lighting, and it's still not interesting. You see those this is running straight to her face, not really interesting shot. Now by changing my position more to the wall, we actually got this shot. But now this is incredibly dark. This is light, but this is too dark. So we change the light again. There we go. And now we have a proper light on our model. We don't have that weird shadow part. The background is really nice and dark because this was shot on 400ths of a second f16. But I wanted more. I wanted that background to be soft and out of focus. So we started working with the HS system. Now this is incredibly cool. This is what I love about the new system. Do you see this? We're shooting on 2.8, a 4,000th of a second. And if I do a little bit tweaking, I can actually get this to look pretty decent in Capture One. So now I have that nice out of focus background. And let's see if I have a better shot. There we go. Absolutely love these. Nice, love this one. Let me see if that one is sharp. Yes, I actually love this one. So let's see what we got. Do I like this one? No. The reason I don't like this one is the shadow over here. This one is also pretty cool. I think we cut the best ones out. Okay, so let's see what we can do in Photoshop. Now normally I would shoot way more, of course, but because we're doing digital classroom, I have to cut a little bit of the edges off. Sorry, I have to cut some, I don't know what I wanted to say. So let's work on this one. The first thing I have to do is make sure that the image is straight, and at the moment it isn't. And what do I use to make it straight? I can use, of course, this part, but I will actually use the flagpole. Now in Capture One there's a very simple tool, and that's the straighten tool. Now let's go into straighten tool. Oops, sorry. I need, of course, this one. Straighten tool. Okay, let's draw a line. There we go. And this is pretty okay. There we go. Okay, now of course you want to go into Photoshop. Now in Lightroom the only thing you have to do is Command E and Lightroom will actually open up Photoshop. In Capture One you can do something similar. You create a recipe, Frank to Photoshop, TIFF 16 bits, uncompressed, Pro Photo RGB, and open Photoshop. The only thing I have to do is press Process, but in my case I'm just gonna press Command D. And then it opens up Photoshop. We hope. And it will, because I already see it starting in the background. Okay, so there we go. Now, what do I do in Photoshop to an image like this? The first thing I have to tell you, it's an outside shot. So if it's an outside shot, I will do way less on the skin, because I want the skin to be as natural as possible. What I want to do is I want to zoom in 100%, and I want to just look at the skin. And the skin looks pretty good. The only thing is there's some unevenness over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the healing brush and just take those out. So I'm sampling and I'm just taking those out. Now the biggest problem in skin is not the pores. The biggest problem is color differences. That's what makes a skin look unnatural on a photo. And natural in real life. I know it sounds weird, but that's how it is. So Sanne is blessed with a really even skin, so I don't need to do a lot of tweaking on the skin. But let's say you want it. So, because I want to be complete, let's show you what we could do with a filter. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, let's say we want to do something on this. So what you do is you go into filters, and you have to buy this one, by the way, it's not free. It's Image Normal Portraiture. This filter absolutely rocks. It's one of the best skin retouching filters I know. Go to 100%, drag it down, and on the standard setting it's already pretty cool. So let's select some skin tones, and the skin tones you actually select by using the plus. There we go. So you have a before and after. Let's see where we have the before, spacebar, before and after. Now this is of course way too much, but I still press OK just to show you guys. There we go. And now you can change your opacity until you see what you like. I like this, it's a little bit smoother. Now how do I make sure that it's only on the skin and not on the rest? Well, this is the cool thing about Photoshop. We're going to use a layer mask. And in this case a layer mask, hide all. We're going to remove the effect. Now you see a black piece of paper over here. That means if we take a brush and we actually use white paint. Sorry I'm going so fast, guys, but I don't want to repeat stuff for the guys that already know it, but I still want to show it for the guys who don't. And of course this is recorded, so later you can stop the video and watch it back on YouTube. On our YouTube channel, of course. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really like that, because at that point we can show people, look, there are many people subscribed, so give us money to make more programs. And of course you guys want more programs, right? And don't tell me no. Yes, Anna, there's a question.
Aren't the photos you did not get through the tether tools, aren't they stored in the camera, or will they come up later?
Yes, the images that I missed while I was disconnected, and that's the cool thing about Capture One. Capture One doesn't store anything on the card when you're shooting tethered, but as soon as the tethered connection is lost, it will actually store all the images, of course, on the card. Now, I don't know if I have a card in my camera, but if I have a card in my camera, I didn't lose any shots. Those shots are still on the card. So anyway, can you check if I have a card in the camera? Normally I don't, because when I shoot tethered, I have to be totally honest with you guys, I never lose connection, especially with the new tether boosts. I actually never lost connection. We've been testing them for a week now full time, and they never ever lost connection. But I was really pushing it today with 4 extension cords, 2 tether boosts without any power. So yeah, it did work before the broadcast. Okay, the first thing I'm now going to do is flatten my layers, because I'm done with skin and I want to remove this. Now, a lot of people will ask me, like, will you remove this also on a client? No, because this is part of my client's body. And if a client's body shows marks, or in this case, the little moedervlekken, you know what I mean, mother marks, we call them over here. So if they show that, then I don't take them out. But in this case, it's a model shoot, I will take it out. Now, I love the shot as it is. The thing is, I always wanted to give it a little bit of a look. And that's where Alien Skin Exposure comes in. So we go to Filter, Alien Skin Exposure X. Now, why do I want this? It's very simple. If you look at the images straight out of the camera, you're seeing perfect colors, you're seeing everything great. The thing is, if you think back about film photography in the film days, what we actually did is we choose chemicals, we choose film, we choose paper to change the look of the image. For example, you want a little bit more red, you want a little bit more portrait look, or you want Velvia with bright, bold colors, but a little bit less dynamic range. With digital photography, somehow people are very scared if you start using the term, I'm gonna tint my images. And they go like, oh my, why do you tint your images? Why do you do that? Because that's not how the sensor recorded it. Photography is not about what a sensor records. Photography is about evoking emotion. And emotion is done with color, in my case. So let's see if we can make it black and white. No, I don't like black and white. Now the cool thing about about Alien Skin Exposure X is that you can actually lock one, like here, I'm now doing the Chinese Horror 2. I can see it before and after. Really like this. It gives me a little bit more of an oomph in my image. And now I can just hover over the other looks and see if I see something that I really like. I actually like this one best, so let's keep it that way. But first I want to show you guys something. Steffi, can you switch back to the Logitech full screen, please? Okay, so now you see me? And now you still see me. Okay, so I can't make that joke today. If you look here, you see the Wacom Cintiq and you see a BenQ 27-inch monitor. Now, why do I have those two monitors? They're actually in clone mode, so this one does exactly the same as this one. Why do I do that? The Cintiq is an amazing tool. It's literally great. The thing is, the color, dynamic range, detail on the BenQ is better. This is not meant as an Adobe RGB reference monitor. It's meant as an incredibly great display, but most of all as a great retouching tool. The monitor over there, that's meant as a reference monitor. It's an Adobe RGB monitor, hardware calibrated. That's the monitor that gives you the best possible image quality. So when I do really sensitive coloring, I don't want to look on the Cintiq, I want to look on the BenQ. So that's why the BenQ is actually on top of the Cintiq. So I use the two monitors, one for referencing and one to retouch on. So you can switch back to my Photoshop again if you want. Or in this case, Alien Skin, of course. Now let's say I want to change it a little bit. I don't want a lot of red in there. So let's go here and let's go to my color saturation, and let's say I want to desaturate the reds, but not too much. There we go. And let's say I want to saturate the blues a little bit more. So give me the blues. There we go. Really like this look. Okay, and of course if I have more images like this, I would actually store this as a preset so I can still use it for the other images. And let's press apply. For me this is enough. I don't need more retouching. I don't want more retouching. It has to stay very, very close to what my camera recorded. Okay, great. File, close. Okay, so I promised you, oops, let's first of course do a layer flatten image. I never store at PSDs because these images are pretty large, and if I store as PSDs, I can of course go back and change stuff, but I don't hardly do anything. So why should I go back and change stuff if I don't do anything? And my hard drives will actually explode from all the images that are on there if I do PSDs. So I actually do store as TIFF 16 bits because I want the highest possible quality, but I don't want to store as PSDs. Okay, one with natural light, this one. Absolutely love this shot, very, very cool. Love her expression. And again, this is just starting, guys. This is a really bad, simple wall. Bear with me, it's going to be way more interesting in the next sets, and those will also be faster. Now this is a little bit blown out. Let's bring back some of the highlights. There we go. Love this. Now the highlight slider, don't worry if you want to use it. It's not like you're betraying photography because you're using a slider. Don't worry, it's all about the look that you want. Even if I want to open this up and make it an HDR, highly destructive retouching shot. No, I don't like that. It's disgusting. Okay, let's bring a little bit color in her face because it's a little bit dark. And now most of the retouching I want to do in my raw converter. So in Lightroom you would use the adjustment brush. In Capture One we're actually going to use local adjustments. Now you see the background. Let's add another layer. And let's paint in a mask on that layer. Let's draw a mask. Oh, I'm so creative today. Let's create a mask. There we go, and only on her face. Okay, there we go. Now, where do we stop? I don't know. Probably here. Don't stop on a shadow area because you can never get that correct. And make sure you use a soft brush when doing masking, because then it feathers out very, very nicely. And don't overdo it. So what I'm now going to do is I'm not going to crank it all the way up because that looks terrible. It's like she just was hit by gamma rays or whatever. Let's turn it down. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm also selecting a little bit over here, I want to make sure that we don't see that too much. So I'm actually only going to open up the shadows a little bit, and I'm actually going to use a curve. There we go. Much, much better. Really nice. Now before and after. Just opens it up a little bit. Now if you're really picky and you have the time, go into 200%, zoom all the way up, and make sure that you use your eraser to erase your mask over there. But for me, this is good enough for now for Digital Classroom. Okay, let's retouch this in Photoshop, and let's make this a little bit more interesting by adding some really, really high contrast, maybe black and white for this shot. What do you think, Sanne? Black and white, right? She's going like, yeah, baby. Okay, the first thing we want to do is some skin work, because black and white will be really rough. I can run my skin work. So what I do is I actually created an action. What I do is I record myself creating a new layer, running image normal portraiture, doing it on a certain setting, and then making a background mask actually, which tells you to hide it all. So what I will do now is just run this action. Now actions are the most coolest thing in Photoshop. Everything that you repeat over and over again, just create an action and you're done. So let's take a white brush. Here we have some blacks, and we just paint the effect in. Now talk about actions, I want to show you guys something that's just too funny to leave out. One of the things that you don't do to your colleagues if you still want to work there is actually the following. Now if you go into File, and you can actually go into Automate, and you can all these stuff, right? And it actually means that you can run stuff that's automated in Photoshop. What you can also do is go into Scripts and go somewhere that nobody ever uses, and it's called the Scripts Event Manager. Now this is really cool. You can enable this, and you can actually do an action. For example, make an action where you do, well, let's say, close Photoshop. Or let's do a script, for example, clean listener, or resize, or warn if do a welcome, whatever. Now show a simple alert when Photoshop starts. You can also do that, of course, when you do everything. So that means that everything you do, it will show you welcome. So if I change my brush, welcome. If I close my image, welcome. If I change the color, welcome. It will drive you literally insane. So that's just in between a really cool joke. Okay, let's go to 100% and let's run down. And I actually see that Anneweek has a question in. So Anneweek, ask the question, please.
Why do you save them as tips and not as DNGs? Because DNG files are so small, but they save the info of the photo, don't they?
Okay, why don't I use DNGs but TIFFs? The answer is really simple. If I do my retouching, I'm already in TIFF 16 bits. I store in TIFF 16 bits because that's actually a standard. DNG is a digital negative file from Adobe, and it's a great file. I don't want to use it because it's an Adobe file, and most of the software, by the way, is totally compatible with it, but TIFF is everywhere compatible. Now some people will tell me DNGs are smaller. That's actually not really true. DNGs are smaller if you have your camera RAWs and you create DNGs. Now that scares the living daylights out of me, because why is it possible that my images get smaller when I use a different RAW format? It actually removes stuff, and to be totally honest, I don't want stuff removed from my images. So DNG is great, but I prefer to leave my RAW files the way they are and actually store my other files in TIFF 16 bits, because then I know for sure it's always compatible. And it's just paranoid. So don't worry if you do it in DNG. There is no right and wrong, it's just the preferred workflow. Okay, let's look at this. I actually do like this. Okay, let's make this black and white. Now, two black and white converters I absolutely adore, and the first one is Alien Skin Exposure X, and of course we also use DxO Film Pack a lot. The other one that I really like is actually MacFun, and MacFun has one that's called Tonality. Okay, Anneweek, you have another question.
Yes, Ineke asked, can you make a mask visual in Photoshop?
Okay, the question is, can you make a mask visual in Photoshop? Yes, you can. Do you want me to show you? Of course. So we're going to do that after this short black and white conversion. Okay, now this is tonality. What I like about tonality is the sheer difference in looks. And I already look this one. Look at this one. This is awesome. Now, what is this? This is actually a little bit of a blur on the back, a glow in the face. And of course we want to make sure that her face is sharp, so we're going to take the lens blur and actually place the center on her face. There we go, really like this. The glow can be a little bit more maybe. Look at this, really nice. Let's open up the shadows just a little bit, so let's go up and open up those shadows. Oops. Almost destroyed it. There we go. Make it a little bit more dark. There we go, real moody shot. Love this, absolutely cool. Sanne, you did great.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Actually, by the way, if you like Capture One the way that I showed you now, in the end of the retouching, I'm going to show you that we released a new video, but not yet. So first we're going to do the whole retouching stuff. Okay, so how do you make a mask visible in Photoshop? Very, very easy. The first thing you can do with masks is actually run the mask straight in Quick Mask. So that's over here. And now I can actually see the mask I'm drawing, like this. But this was probably not what you wanted to know. So the other thing you can do is, let's say we have a layer. Let's make a new layer. And let's create layer mask, reveal all, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now we have that white piece of paper. Now let's say we create a mask on that white piece of paper. There you go. Now you see that at the moment you don't see anything, right? I don't see the mask. Now watch this. By holding the Command key, you can actually make a selection of the mask. So that's a pretty cool trick. And by using the Control key, oops, sorry, excuse me, oops. By using the Alt key, it's very difficult because the keyboard is actually on my left side at the moment. I didn't see where I was hitting it. I can now actually see my mask. So that's the Alt key. And by pressing it again, it of course disappears. So that's a pretty way to show your mask. And yeah, that's about it. So let's remove the mask again. And flatten this layer. And I think we got the shot for now. File, close. And save. Another question. Yes, Annewiek.
Two questions. Is there a way to only blur the background without having to mask the model first?
Okay, is there a way to blur the background without masking the model? Is there a way to drive in your car without pumping gasoline? Yes, if you have a diesel. You can do it if there's a clear distinction between the model and the background. Can you switch to the Logitech camera, Steffi, so they can see me again? And again, that one will slightly lag, so don't worry because, oh, now it's actually on speed. So yes, you can, but it depends on the model. I would always make, well, what you could do actually is create like a vignette around your model, feather that, and then outside of the vignetting, the selection of course, a blur. But most of the time, just shoot it on 2.8. Why fix all that stuff in Photoshop if you can do it on set? And that's one of the things that sometimes disappoints people when they talk to me. I'm very, very strict about do it on the set. Don't shoot it on f16 and go like, oh, we'll fix that in Photoshop. If you have no other option, that's when you fix something in Photoshop. If you do have an option, that's when you shoot it straight right on camera. Now, if you want to mess around with a picture, sure. But I would just make a selection around the model, feather the hell out of it, and then just blur it outside that selection. And don't overdo it. And there are many, many software plugins, by the way, that you can actually do a selective focusing and work with lenses. Most of the time it just looks fake. And you had another question, Annewiek.
Would you tweak different if the photo was for printing, more dark or light?
Okay, would I retouch different if my photo was for printing, more dark or light? No, for the very simple reason, I retouch my images and I expect my printer to do exactly the way that I want my image to be printed. Now, let me guess, the guy or girl asking this has an Epson printer. Because in Epson printers, there's a little bug where actually the prints will come out way too dark. Now, if you go on my forum, it's called imagetalk.com, and we don't update that a lot. It's not a very busy forum, but it's like where I try to communicate before we did the whole Google Plus stuff with the followers. And on there, if you look in printing, there's actually a tip about changing your paper handling with the Epson printers, and that will solve the problem of too muddy prints. So when you change that, what you have on your screen should actually pretty well be translated to paper. So go to imagingtalk.com. I will actually show you it because of course we also have internet here. I forgot. It's not very fast, but at least we have it. Let me see, imagetalk.com. Let me hope that it doesn't open a different website. Yep. Oops. There we go. And now let's go to printing. Steffi, can you switch back? Oh, you already switched back to my screen. Oh my, she's fast. If you go to printing, here dark prints on Epson. And let me go down, 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 down. And let me see where I gave the answer. There we go. This is actually a problem with too dark prints. Go to paper handling in the driver and change the color density to -15 for premium luster paper and -20 for gloss. That should fix your problem. So if you have too dark images, that's actually the solution. Okay, any more questions? Otherwise we go outside. Please give me more questions because it's way too hot outside. Okay, can you switch back to the Logitech for me? Okay, let me take a very quick drink and then I want to tell you guys about something. Okay, so over the years I've been using Lightroom, and Lightroom is absolutely great for cataloging, getting your images in, making smart albums, using the map. Yes, I'm one of those guys who actually uses the map function. I don't use the book function, but I use the map function. And I absolutely love Lightroom. I couldn't live without it. The catalog is stunning. The thing is, when I do retouching and I want to get the best image quality out of my raw files, I actually prefer Capture One. Over the years, many people have asked me, how do I incorporate Capture One into Lightroom? So I made some videos on, quite frankly, about it, but people wanted more. People wanted to know more in depth, like, okay, what can you do more with Capture One? Now, one of my students, and he actually is a good friend of us, he said, well, I have some questions about Capture One, can you answer those? And he gave me like a gazillion questions. There were only 4, by the way. But if I would write them out, it would take me a lot of time. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to record a video for the guy. It's cool. So I recorded the video, and I was recording the video, and I was going like, you know what, maybe I would add this and make it a 60-minute introduction to Capture One. And that went wrong. We ended up with more than 190 minutes of material. I cover literally everything from retouching, tinting, stacking effects, creating your workflow, integrating Lightroom into Capture One and Capture One into Lightroom, so both ways. And we do tethered setups, which is awesome in Capture One, if you don't break that barrier of 4 extension cables, which I did, stupid me. And well, black and white modes, there's a really cool technique about skin in there, and it's a great instructional video. And actually it's 190 plus minutes, and we only charge 15 euros for it. And we also have something else cool. We also sell presets for Capture One, DxO Film Pack, Alien Skin, and anything else. So I'm going to give you those links in a moment. And Anna first has a question, and then we're going to show you the new trailer for our Capture One video, because I have to set up outside. And well, you guys can wait and watch at an empty wall, or just watch the video. So that's also cool. So first a question from Anna.
2 questions actually.
Oh, 2 questions.
What do you do with all your photos? Photo books, print your favorites?
Okay, what do I do with all my photos? I store them, I save them, I cherish them. Without any doubt, of course, I love all my photos, but I can't print all my photos. We shoot so much stuff, and normally they just end up on my hard drive. I love to give you guys a nice social media stream with all those images, and that's about what I do with my images. And some of my absolute favorite images, those will be on my portfolio at Smakmak on my website. And the other images are used for blog posts, behind the scenes videos. I'm a really different photographer from most, because we do commercial jobs, but most of the time I teach and I use education. So that means that I can literally live my dream. I can shoot whatever I want if I just build a workshop around it. So I got so many great shots that I love that, well, making a book doesn't make any sense, because in 6 months there will be totally different shots that I like. So I don't create books. What I do is, actually we started selling some shots. So if you're interested, just drop us an email and we can work something out. We're still in the very, very early stages of that, but some of my work actually got sold, and we thought, you know what, let's do more of that, because that's always cool, right? Okay, anyway, another question.
The other question was, if Scott Galby asked you to do a class about Lightroom, would you still do it?
Okay, if Scott would ask me, Scott Galby, would ask me to do a class on Lightroom, would I still do it? Heck yeah! I just told you guys, I love Lightroom. And because I use Capture One doesn't mean I don't love Lightroom. If I eat steak, it doesn't mean I don't like an hamburger. That doesn't make any sense at all. But you know what I mean, right? I love Lightroom. And my workflow, if you would see the complete workflow, a lot of it is based on Lightroom. Adobe rocks. Adobe is great for Lightroom, Photoshop, Premiere. But you now in Digital Classroom see a totally different workflow. You see the workflow during the photo shoot, during the retouching, and that's when most of the time I use Capture One. Now, as soon as I'm done, all my images get copied to a certain drive in a certain folder, and the first thing I start up is Lightroom, sync that folder, give it keywords, make it into a smart album, taking all the shots where they need to be, adding the GPS information, creating my smart album for my slideshow, for my video, for the behind the scenes stuff. And you don't see Capture One anymore, it's all Lightroom. So if Scott Kelby would ask me to do a video on Lightroom, Scott, are you listening? I'm more than interested. Of course we'll do. And it will be a great video because in Lightroom you can do so much stuff with the adjustment brush, with, you know, Lightroom, right? It's awesome, but it doesn't mean that if you use certain plugins that we don't like the other ones. I love Mac Fun, but I still use DxO. I love DxO Optics Pro for all my street and travel photography, but I still use Capture One for fashion. So they perfectly go together. Any more questions?
No.
No more questions, so I have to get out in the heat and shoot my model?
Try to.
Really? Guys, come on, give me questions. It's way too hot out there. We still have to do 2 sets.
It's 28.
Please. It's 28 degrees. I don't want to go out. Help. Okay, well, here's the video for our new Capture One video. And again, we still love Lightroom, but Capture One, for if you want to work with it, this video will help you out a lot. Great shot. Hey guys, I'm Frank Doorhof. I'm the writer of the best-selling book, Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, during my workshops, I get a lot of questions about people. What about raw developing? How to set my camera? Do I need Adobe RGB? Do I need sRGB? There are many questions out there. And the best thing to start with is use Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. That's where you start. But after that, if you want a little bit more quality, if you shoot a lot of tethered setups, Capture One is actually one of the best programs out there. It isn't the best in library modes. It isn't the best in map modes. That's where we still use Lightroom. But Capture One is an awesome raw developer. Now, what is a raw developer and why is it important? Think about the old days when we had film. The choice of chemicals and the choice of film made a huge difference. The same film developed in different chemicals gave you totally different end result. The model was still the model, the landscape was still the same landscape, but you get more definition from one chemical, or you get a little bit more detail or a little bit different colors, also depending on the process. And that actually is the same thing for the new digital sensors. A digital sensor records a raw image. There's no color space attached to a raw image. It's the raw image. You have to attach a color space yourself. This is also one of the most heard problems during, for example, social media stuff. How do I set my camera? If you shoot JPEG, choose sRGB or Adobe RGB. If you shoot RAW, it doesn't matter because the RAW file is the RAW file. There's no color profile attached. That's what you do in your RAW converter as soon as you go to JPEG or TIFF. And most workflows, of course, will be TIFF 16 bits because then you have a lot of stuff to work with and then you can use the bigger color spaces. But hey, I'm getting way ahead of this stuff. I don't want to teach you too much because this is a promo for a new video I created. Now, next to Lightroom, one of the most famous and best known RAW developers is, of course, Capture One. And Capture One has had a turbulent experience for me. It started when I shot medium format, I needed Capture One. And now when I shoot Sony and even when I shot Canon, I quickly found out that the raw developing of Capture One was awesome. But a lot of people have a lot of questions about how does it work? With Lightroom, I know how everything works, but how does it work in Capture One? And that's why we created this video for you guys. It's a total walkthrough about how I set up Capture One to work with Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop, because those are still my main programs. Capture One is used for raw developing, and it does such an amazing job at that. So, check out the video on Capture One raw developing workflow from me, Frank Doorhof. And I'm sure if you have any questions about Capture One, they will be answered in that video. Welcome back. We're outside in front of a blue container, the Smurf container. Now, we only have half an hour left and I want to do 2 sets including retouching. So I'm going to show you how we normally work if we work fast. Now, I already told you when we shoot high sync, we don't use a light meter. That means that I am now back where a lot of you guys are. Just setting up your lighting and figuring it out. This is terrible on location because I can hardly see my screen. I can hardly see the monitor in there. So I have to go and rely on my EVF. I absolutely hate that. The thing is, however, because I can shoot now on high sync, I can literally kill the ambient light. So there's a big disadvantage of not being able to use the light meter, not knowing where my lighting is, just figuring it out as we go, and being able to cut the ambient light. And to be totally honest, I just love cutting the ambient light. So we'll just go for it. Okay, very nice. Can you look a little bit down? Very cool. I'm shooting shallow depth of field, making sure that the background is in the picture, but it's not too much. I see that I have way too little power on my strobes. So I'm gonna lower my shutter speed. There we go. This is pretty nice. I want more power on my strobe, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put my strobe on full power. There we go. And I want to make sure that my strobe actually hits my model straight on, because now I'm actually feathering. So let's place this a little bit closer to my model. Can you see it through? Really nice. She changed her normal attire for something red, but also she's wearing sunglasses, because now I can actually let my model look straight into the sun without feeling guilty. Really nice. And I'm still a little bit short on cables. That's better. I want to include some of the sky, of course. Really nice. Love that. Okay, let's change the aperture to 2.8. And you see that I'm working really fast at the moment. I'm also changing my shutter speed a little bit more down. Okay, that's too hot, so just change the shutter speed back up again. And you see how terribly frustrating this is if you're used to a light meter. On the other hand, I do get my shots. But let's make it a little bit more interesting. I like that contrast in the shot. I want it a little bit further away. There we go. And I want a lower angle, so I'm going to sit on the floor, aiming my my camera up and creating a little bit more dimension. Absolutely love this. Great, great, great. Always tell your models he's doing great, even if she doesn't, and Sanne is. Because that's the trick. If your model feels at ease, your photo shoot will be way better. Love it. Let's say I like the background, but I want a little bit more ambient light. I have to lower my shutter speed and raise my aperture. There we go. Let's do the same thing again. Lower my shutter speed and raise the aperture. I'm going to tell you in a moment why. Because as you can see, it works. Okay, that's too much. Really nice. Now if I lower my aperture, I have to raise my shutter speed. And I have to find that balance. This is way overexposed, as you can see. So let's add a little bit more. Okay, let's say I like the background as it is now, but it's a little bit overexposed, right? So I can change my aperture again, but if I change my aperture, the background won't be out of focus. So what I have to do is lower the output of the strobe. There we go. That's better. Lower it even more. This is nice. Can you take one step that way? Really cool. That's nice. Just sit down. There we go. Look a little bit more towards the sun and a little bit down. I don't want that reflection in your sunglasses. Love it. Okay, final shot for this setup. Very quickly, can you stand against the container? Let's create something a little bit more dramatic. Okay, aim this down to create a little bit of a vignetting on my model. Can you look into the light? And again, I'm shooting on higher shutter speed, so I can't use the light meter, and that's frustrating for me. But again, the benefits are so incredibly cool that I don't care at the moment. Okay, really nice. I like that low angle. Gonna try a few in portrait mode, which I hardly ever shoot. Okay, really nice. I want to see that other arm a little bit more in front of you. That arm, the other one. Yes, that's nice. Love it. Okay, let's give it a little bit more strobe. And let's raise the shutter speed just a little bit. That's nice. I hope, because I can't see a lot, but I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, let's shoot some of those in landscape mode. Okay, let's lean over to that side and just really lean on the container like there. There we go. Okay, what I want you to do is, I want to flick your hair. So, yes, like that. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And one more. 1, 2, 3, go. And the final one. 1, 2, 3, go. And just lean over front. Like you are, no, down with your hair. There we go. Absolutely stunning. That's cool. Keep it that way. Perfect. Chin up just a little bit. Okay, because he's barely now on the strobe. There we go. The light is actually all the way down on her body. The light fall off, I mean. So it's a pretty dark shot, but it gives a lot of intention. So let's go in and let's look at the images, and I'm going to explain to you why that shutter speed change was so important in combination with the aperture. So let's go inside, because it's way too hot out here. And we still have one set left. But in between, the girls are going to show you our commercial for Mastering the Model Shoot 3 Creativity. Hey guys, welcome back. Whew, it's hot. So, first, some questions. So, Steffi, what's the first question?
Can I use speed light instead of strobes for outside shoot, an HSS?
Okay, can I use speed lights instead of normal strobes for outside shoots? Yes. You use high-speed sync and it works flawlessly. You will get a little bit less power than with the Quadras and the Rangers, but it will work. And again, if you watch this later back, I already explained this in the previous segment, put two strobes together for a full extra stop of power. Second question.
What color profile do you use for printing or for web?
Okay, what kind of color profile do I use? I retouch everything in Pro Photo RGB, the biggest color space, for what I find reasonable. The other one is Adobe RGB and sRGB. sRGB I use for the web, and if I actually send to a printer, which I don't trust, because sometimes they will really mess up your Adobe RGB and make them all a little bit brownish. So that's what I use. And as soon as I print myself, I will actually let the computer do the conversion. From Epson to 3800. We don't have the newest printer. The 3800 does pretty well. Next question.
Frank, do you use Capture One when you shoot better? I understand that. But if you shoot without cable, then you must import the pictures in Lightroom. Or do you go to Capture One as well?
Okay, the question is, if I shoot tethered, I use Capture One. They understand. If I shoot without cable, in other words, if I shot on location, I bring my card in, where do I import? I import straight into Lightroom. In Lightroom, I will make my selection, and then I will bring those selections into Capture One and use Capture One for the raw developing. If you buy my video on Capture One, you can actually see that complete workflow where I use Lightroom to give stars, ratings, colors, then export the originals into Capture One, do the raw developing in Capture One, and then go back into Lightroom and Photoshop, of course. Now, if you don't want to use Capture One at all, just use Lightroom. If you don't want to use Lightroom at all, I think you're making a big mistake, because the catalog system in Lightroom is perfect, or very close to perfect. But you can go either way. You can go into Capture One from Lightroom or into Lightroom from Capture One. So I use them both. But if I use the card, the ingestion is into Lightroom and then into Capture One. If I shoot tethered, everything comes into Capture One and then goes into Lightroom. Next question.
Were you still using the HSS option during the first shoot? And if you use the low aperture, like 2.8, why it looks like everything is still sharp and not blurred?
Okay, Did I shoot on HSS mode? No, because HSS mode is actually for small flash. The system for Elinchrom is called HS, high sync. And I was shooting high sync. Now, I will explain something to you guys. If you shoot a high sync mode, there's one thing that you have to realize. Up until 1/200th of a second, you can use a light meter. The lighting will be constant. Or, how do you mean it? It will be the same, f11, right? So if I go to 50th of a second, 60th, 100, 200, it will all be f11. Now, as soon as I go above a certain point, and it varies per camera and per system, the light will fall off. So let's say I'm shooting f11 on 125th of a second. It could very well be that at 1/4000th of a second, I'm actually on 2.8, like you saw outside. The thing is, you don't really know how it works. It's not a linear drop-off, it just happens. And at one point, as you saw me doing, you get a little bit more experience, and you will actually find out that it gets easier over time. So in other words, it will be easier to catch your exposure correct. The other thing that you have to realize is that when you are doing this, it's all run and gun. So if I want to make sure that my exposure is correct, but my shutter speed stays up, I have to change that with my ISO or the output of my strobe. If I see that my exposure is off, then I will have to adjust. And I have to choose between ISO, shutter speed, or aperture. So that's where the whole problem comes in, and that's what you saw me doing. And at one point, you have to think about many things. You have to think about your shutter speed, you have to think about your aperture, your ISO, but you also have to think about the output of your strobe. So it is pretty much complicated, but at one point you will just get the drift, and it will just work fine. So don't worry about it. It will be okay. Any other question, Steffi?
Well, we had a little string off, but where is your focus when you have her flip her hair?
Okay, where's my focus point when I let her, for example, flip her hair? Very simple. My focus point is always on the center. Now, as soon as I have a center focus point, I can make my composition. Some people will say you have to change your focus point around. I'm not in that school of thought. What I like to do is I will just select the focus point in the middle and I will recompose, and that works flawlessly. Now, by the way, don't worry if the stream is offline, because we only have like 20 minutes left. It's recorded, it will be uploaded later, so don't worry. And if we're offline, you actually don't hear this, so it makes absolutely no sense that I tell you guys this. It's more to get Steffi a little bit more relaxed, because he sees that our broadcast is offline, but don't worry. Okay, next question, Steffi.
This is the last one. Do you mind the shadow from the quadra?
Okay, do I mind the shadow from the quadra? It depends how it is in the shot. Let me see here. I actually don't mind it here that much. I can take it out. I can take the edges off so you don't see that the grid is in there. But normally I would mind the shadow there. But that's why we actually choose rounder reflector, so we can actually Photoshop that out. So that's something I do have to fix in Photoshop. So let's go to the images. Let's go to my screen, and I will show you the retouch process. Okay, my pen. Afra, can you give me my pen? It's still there on that area where I left it. Okay, so let's do some selections of the images. The images that I absolutely loved are actually the ones where she flipped her hair. But let's go through them so you can see what we build up to. Now, the first image was actually the first test image, so it's way, way too dark, as you can see here. Now, if I go here, it's okay in exposure. Here it's a little bit overexposed. And this is what you get when you don't use a light meter. But again, in this system, you can't use a light meter. I love this shot, really nice. So let's give that 5 stars for now. This is actually pretty cool. This is even better. Let's see if we have one that's even more interesting. Love this one. But I think the first ones, this one I absolutely adore. Really nice. Okay. Let me very quickly check with Anouk. Do you still have a live stream?
It's reloading, Frank.
Okay, live stream is reloading, guys. Don't worry, we're recording this,
There are a few questions.
so we'll put it up online later. Okay, really nice. This is where she flicks her head. Really great shot. Love this one. She did awesome. And I also really like this one. So we got a lot of choices from here. Actually like the one where the hair is floating a little bit better, like here, waited for the wind. And here she got her chin up just a little bit more. Okay, nice. Okay, so let's go to rated images. Oh, it's already on rated images. Let's go all the way to the front. And that's where it actually stores the rated images. And let's retouch one just for fun. So let's take this one and I will show you how you take out that reflection of the quadra and it doesn't look weird. The first thing I want to do is open up the dress just a little bit. So go into my local adjustments of Capture One, and in Lightroom I will actually use the adjustment brush for this. And I will just open up the shadows. I will just draw in shadows here. There we go. And let's also open up this a little bit.
No, it says stream is offline.
Okay, so we're now drawing this in. Really nice. Okay, there we go. Just open up the shadows. And there we go. We added a little bit of extra light. Let's go into Photoshop for this shot. And then we're going to take out the areas that we don't want in there. Okay. Let's open up Photoshop. Press the wrong key, so it takes a little bit longer than normal. The first thing we of course have to do is take out the area here. Now, Content Aware Fill works pretty well for that. We take the lasso tool and we actually draw around the area which we want removed. There we go, and we press delete. And we do Content Aware, Color Adaptation, Normal, and press OK. There we go. So it does a pretty good job. So everything is now nice. The only thing is a little bit over there. So let's take the healing brush. Let's just take that area out. There we go. Now this part can be a little bit more problemsome. I can take it out completely, but what I can better do is make it look natural. And make it look natural means like it could be a shadow. So let's take actually our clone tool and let's just take these areas out. And actually let's not do it with the clone tool, but let's do it with our lasso tool. So we're going to take this one out, delete, Content Aware Fill. Going to take this one out, delete, Content Aware Fill. Take this one out, delete, Content Aware Fill. Great. So we do select, deselect, and it already looks more like a traffic sign or whatever there. You can even clone this a little bit more to a size like it's more rounded, but I like it this way. Okay, now I already told you that my Portrait Smooth is actually in action, so let's run Portrait Smooth very quickly. It creates that background layer. Let's take a brush with white paint, of course, and let's paint the effect of the filter in. And again, I don't want to do it too much on the skin when it's outside. There we go. Really nice. Okay, layer, flatten image. Let's go to 100%. And let's see if we have to take something out. Yes. So take the healing brush and just take some of the unevenness out of our skin. There we go. Pretty nice. Nothing more to be desired. Okay, now I'm going to use another filter that's actually on a lot of my shots, and it's called MacFun Intensify. Now let's go to Filter, MacFun, and then go to Intensify. And Intensify is a really cool filter because it makes your images literally pop. And when an image pops, it gives you a great look. So let's go in here. And let's choose this one, Poppy Drama 3. Really like this. You see it gives the container a really rough look. So let's just say apply. But I don't like it on all the stuff. I like it a little bit on her dress, but I don't like it on, for example, the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually in a moment create a layer where it hides everything. Now you have layers that reveal everything and layers that hide everything. Now the layer that hides will actually not show you stuff. The layer that shows you stuff, it will show you stuff. So let's go to layer, layer mask, reveal all. Sorry, of course not. Undo. And let me show you a quicker way, by the way, to do this. Let's say reveal all. You can actually invert that layer, or you can just take a paint bucket with black and just fill it. There we go. It's easy as can be. Okay, let's go to white, and on the container I want the effect 100%. So let's just paint the effect in on the container. Okay, so the stream is back, I just heard. So the stuff you're missing, guys, just wait a few hours after the broadcast and we will upload a new version of Digital Classroom. So you will have the full version, and maybe YouTube actually stored everything. I don't know. This is stuff where we can't help that it goes wrong, guys. On our side, everything is in order. We have great internet connection, so it should work. Anyway, you have a question coming in while I'm painting.
Well, everybody says no worries, and we're glad you're doing it for free and stuff.
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
But the question is, can I use Speedlight instead of Strobe for outdoor shoot? And
I already answered the question about speed lights.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can. Okay, unless somebody is asking the same question over and over again. Okay, let's change the color to black. And now actually where you see here on her skin, I just missed it a little bit. So let's go there over her skin. And you know, if you use soft brushes, that's great. Now, we don't want the effect too much on her dress. So let's change the brush actually to white, but change the opacity to 50%. Now that's one option, to just get it in a little bit, as you can see here. Now let's say we don't want to do it like that, we want to have a little bit more control. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm not going to use my opacity, but I can also change my color to medium gray or a little bit higher. So let's say here. And now I can paint the effect in with way more control. And when I lift up my my stylus and I put it down again, it doesn't add like it does with opacity. So if I change my color to white and I use opacity, every time I pick up my brush and put it down again, it will add to my exposure. If I use a color like this, medium gray or any gray you want, I can just pick up my stylus as much as I want, and as you can see here, it doesn't add. So that's a really cool trick if you're doing layers. Now let's say I want a little bit more here. Now I'm going to change it to white, and now I'm going to give it the effect. There you go. Really great. Love this shot. Very well done, Sanne. Always give your model compliments. Okay, for the next part, I want to give, it's now a little bit, it looks a little bit dirty, it looks a little bit rough. So let's change that. I want to show you the difference. Let's make a duplicate layer and go Image, Adjustments, Curve. And of course, guys, I know the shortcuts, but I want to show the guys that are just beginning where everything is. There you go. We're just going to give it a little bit of a curve. There we go. Awesome. Great, love this. Now let's give this a little bit more blush. Now what you can do, let's first do a layer, flatten image. Let's make a duplicate layer so you guys can see again what I'm doing. There is a tool over here called the dodge tool, and the dodge tool is absolutely freaking amazing. What it can do is it can actually give you more highlights. So it's now on highlights. You can also put it, of course, on midtones or shadows, but let's put it on highlight. And let's get the exposure down to, let's say, 48. And just very quickly go over the areas you want to jump out a little bit more. On the glasses, on her hair. And now I feel like Bob Ross. If you don't know Bob Ross, find him on the internet. You will be laughing for hours in a good way. He's incredibly funny and you can learn a lot about painting from him. Let's say I don't like it there. Now this is the reason I created a layer. I can now do a layer mask, reveal all, and I can actually take the effect out. On black, let's say I want to have the opacity low. There we go. And just by picking up my stylus, you can see I'm adding to my removal of that area. Okay, so let's go to layer, flatten image. Really like this, love the shot. The thing that I have to do is tint it, because that's something I love to do. Let's go to Alien Skin Exposure X. And let's just give it a really cool summery tint. And I don't mean this. Love it in black and white, but I just also love a red dress. So I'm not going to do black and white, she's going to kill me. This is too much. Actually love this one. It's very subtle, and I don't like overdone retouches. I like it to be very, very subtle. So I actually love this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's enough for this image. Layer, flatten image, file, close. Now, the next shot will be way easier, because the next shot, and I'm still gonna manage that third set, don't worry. The next shot is actually the one where she flipped her hair. This one. Now, because I already did the other one, this one can be way faster. The only thing I have to take out again is the quadra. And I have to do a little bit of curves. Now, because I know it, I'm actually gonna do the curves right away. There we go. I'm going to take out my quadra over there, and now watch this. We're going to do this a little bit more, I wanted to say on speed, but some people will take that the wrong way. So there we go. Let's delete this and use content aware. Don't you just love the magic from Adobe? It's amazing. In the Middle Ages they would be burned for witchcraft, but this is just amazing. Okay, go to Portrait, smooth the action to make her skin look really nice and soft without any added chemicals. Oh, make sure that your opacity is of course on 100% and you're on white. Shame on you, Frank. It's really weird, by the way, not getting any feedback from people and just talking into myself and making jokes. Yes, Annemiek, you have a question. Thank you, guys. What? Which?
Which options would you have used in Alien Skin to pop up?
Okay, which options should I use in Alien Skin to pop the photo? Actually nothing, because Alien Skin does have a clarity slider, but it isn't as good as clarity, actually clarity from Topaz if you don't have a Mac, because Topaz works great on PCs. But there's nothing that can actually get to the point of intensify. As you can see here, it just pops the image. It's an amazing plugin. And we actually have a cool deal for you guys. I'm going to give you those links in a moment, because we actually love Mac Fun and we talked to them and they gave you guys some real options. Creative Suite, but we're going to do that later. So let's see this. And again, I love these dark areas over here. You can see that the light is really rough on her. And I really like that for this. Now normally I love the more fashion stuff, but in this case I just love that rough light quality. Okay, so I removed the effect. Let's paint the effect in again on the container. There we go. And we don't want it a lot on the dress, but just a little bit, so we're going to do that in a second. Okay, let's by accident forget something. I'm going to show you in a moment how you can show that mask, because that was one of the questions. I'm going to show you in a moment. Okay, let's say I forget something here. Okay, pretty obvious, right? So let's make it less obvious. Okay, there we go. Looks pretty cool, right? It looks like I didn't skip anything. Now watch this. If I'm gonna activate my mask, I can actually see, oh my, there I've got some stuff. And I can actually paint that in at the moment. Make sure that you're on white paint. I don't know what went wrong. There we go. Go to white. My keyboard got stuck. There we go. It's also hot for the keyboard. Okay, now I have a really nice mask, and now I can disengage, and now I can see that this is way better. Okay, again for the dress, very simple. Now I'm going to do it with a slightly darker, because I don't want it to be popping that much. There we go. And as you can see, this works way faster than the previous one, and that's because I already figured out at the previous one how I wanted everything. So now I can just repeat that step by step, repeat, and do it again. There we go. Now of course Alien Skin exposure, flatten image filter, Elinchrom X. And this is the thing that you have to work on. You have to get that speed up, because if you don't, you spend a lot of time in Photoshop. Now, you saw me pressing something really fast, right? And that's because Elinchrom remembered my previous settings. So the only thing I have to do is press OK, done. Now in all the previous shots, I went to 100% and I removed her bird mark over there. Make sure you do that on all the shots. And she doesn't like it that I remove it, but hey, it's my shot today. Fit on screen, file and close, and we're done. And we have 3 more minutes left for the final set. So I'm gonna jump up and I'm gonna skip the commercial and we're gonna jump outside and do the photo shoot. Because this is how you work under stress. And of course I have to bring my light meter with me and the color checker, because I forgot to shoot that in the previous one. Oh my. Okay. Okay, Steffi, switch to our final location. Our really nice and really messy backyard. Okay. Whew. And back into the heat. Okay, turn on the skyport. Make sure my camera is connected. That's a nightmare this time. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Okay, let's change the lighting setup. And what we're actually gonna do is, I'm not gonna use the beauty dish at the moment. We're gonna switch that over for the maxi light. So anyway, can you quickly grab the maxi light for me? Or Brian? It's already there. So let's change that very fast. Okay. Now the maxi light is without a doubt one of my favorite modifiers. I use it with a grid, but it gives you a lot of light output. About 1.5 stops more than, for example, the beauty dish. Again, I'm going to use high sync, so high speed. So I have to figure it out while I go. So let's take our strobe here. And I want to get that sun behind her. So that's why I really wanted to do that last set. Even if we run a little bit overtime, we don't care here. It's Emmeloord. Okay, let's put this on full power. This is the cool thing about not using a light meter. We can just wing it and just figure it out as we go. Okay, let's aim it all the way up. Now, by the way, if you think, what a mess is your garden, Frank? We do this on purpose, especially for the photo shoots. This is our outside studio, and we want that really nice, rough look like she's in the jungle. I see Tarzan. Okay, can you see through the grid?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we just figure it out as we go. I'm gonna shoot from a low angle, shooting up, and I'm gonna make sure that the sun is in the frame. But before that, I'm gonna do it without the sun in the frame. I'm gonna show you the difference. Now you know that a lot of manuals tell you don't ever shoot with the sun in the frame. I'm going to show you that those manuals are wrong. So let's first do it like this. Actually, Sanne, are you sure you can look through the grid?
No.
Yeah, because it has to go up, I think. Yeah. Because when I look through my camera, yep, it has to go up, right?
Yes.
That better?
Yeah.
That better? Yeah?
Yeah.
Make sure she does her job right? Okay. Okay, let's take some first shots very quickly. Nice. Love it. Okay, look straight into the light. Great. And what you get are okay shots. They're pretty interesting, but they're okay. Now let's go for that wow shot. What's this? Gonna, as long as I don't disconnect, I'm okay. Let's sit on the floor. And let's make sure that we get that sun in. There we go. Love this. Now if I zoom in and I take out the sun, the interest is gone. I really like this. Great shots. And again, I'm shooting on 3.2, nice shallow depth of field. If you want to go even lower, use your flip-up screen and shoot it like this. Now I can even zoom in more on my model. because the sun is now actually in the frame, because I'm zooming from a lower angle. There we go. Stunning. And again, constantly tell your models he's doing great. Can you flip your hair again? 1, 2, 3, go. And look straight into the light while you're doing it. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. No, it doesn't fire. Okay, let me see why it doesn't fire. Anne, can you check if it's not overheated because it's straight in the sun? It's probably overheated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please wait.
Okay, can you quickly change it for the other quadra? Because we have 2 quadras to make sure that this doesn't happen. And sometimes, especially with this kind of heat, the quadra can overheat because it's straight in the sun and I'm shooting on full power, so you're really draining the quadra. And it's no problem that it overheats, you know, otherwise it would just probably explode. So it's very good that it tells me it's overheated. And that's why we have another one. And normally you have to wait like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And if you want to be sure, 5 minutes. But we don't have 5 minutes. Yeah, it was on full power. Okay, let me see if it still works, that shot. Is it on?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, are you ready to flip it?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, go. Great. Also do something with your arms, a little bit more powerful. 1, 2, 3, go. Great. And the final one. 1, 2, 3, go. And trust me, there are a lot of final ones. Oh, you can do one on the... 1, 2, 3, go! Literally awesome. Okay, one more with close-ups. 1, 2, 3, go. Absolutely love this. Okay, let's change the shutter speed. No, let's change the aperture to 2.8 and do one more. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. As you can see, the lower angles work really well. So we're going to ask the model to do one more. I will tell you later why. Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, go. And the final one. 1, 2, 3, go. Great. Okay, let's go inside and I will tell you why we did many final ones. Oh, the color checker. Let me see where it is. It's in my pocket. Can you hold it?
Yes.
Almost forgot it, but that's because it's live. Okay, make a funny face. There we go, and we got the color checker. Okay, let's go in, and I'm gonna show you guys why we did it the way we did it. Okay, I'm gonna run to the computer. Pa-pa-pa-boom. And please switch to the Logitech one. Okay guys, so why do I sell my model so many times? This is the final one, this is the final one. You know, when you're sporting and you have to go that last 500 meters when you're rowing and you talk to yourself, only 500 meters more. You get a little bit of boost of extra energy. That's what I'm using during the photo shoot. If I tell my model one more, she will actually give it one more. If I tell her, okay, this is awesome, this is great, do one more, she will do one more. And if I tell her, yeah, I don't know, she will actually fall down in energy. So that's why we constantly say one more, one more, one more. Let's quickly go through the images and then I'm going to give you some cool links for some discounts and I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Okay, can you switch to my screen? Oh, we have a question. Okay.
I only have a use of that softbox for my quadra, and I think it's easy to use. Or would you recommend buying next to get another look?
Okay, change back to the Logitech so people can see. So I think audio is back on. Okay, guys, sorry for that. You can blame Anna Week, she turned off the camera. And audio runs via the camera. Okay, so the question is, what kind of softbox do I buy? Now, it's your photo shoot. It's your look. Now, because if the audio was off, that looked weird. Now, I love all softboxes. I love all modifiers, but they all have their purpose. So look in your portfolio and see what kind of images you would love to shoot. And then you find the light sources that actually fit those looks. So if you like that really focused light, you need something with a grid. If you like that more glamorous look, you need a big softbox. What I love for my Elinchroms is actually the connector where you can fit your big Elinchrom accessories on the Quadra. So you don't have to buy Quadra accessories. And then a beauty dish with a grid. That's an awesome investment. And you know why? Because you have the beauty dish and get a silver one, the smaller one. Anyway, can you grab my beauty dish very quickly so I can show? So there's a silver smaller one. I believe it's 44 centimeters. Now you can get different deflectors for it. Get the translucent one and the silver one. And actually you can also get the white one. They're not that expensive. Then you have a soft light source that really gives pop to your image. And you can use the grid on it to give you a way more focused light source. And this is actually how a beauty dish looks.
It's very hot.
It's incredibly hot, but this is how a beauty dish looks. And normally, what normal people do, normal people, I mean most of the people, will actually take the grid off and use deflectors inside. So if somebody can hand me a deflector, I can show you guys how that looks. So normally it's fitted on your strobe, and you can actually use a deflector. And everybody's running around now to get me a deflector. That's not a deflector in a week. That's a deflector. So, and you can just put them in here, and you will have a little ball that actually bounces back the light. And this is also called a beauty light. That's where the term beauty dish comes from. So it gives you beautiful light. Okay, and because with the grid you can do something else with it. So it's a very versatile unit. So if you want to buy one, get one of those, because then you can do soft and you can do focused. Another question.
Because the Maxi light gives you so much more light, you put it quite far from the model, but does it still apply that how close you put it to the model, how soft the light will be?
Okay, the Maxi light gives me a lot of light. That's why I placed it far away from the model, because I was able to. Will it still apply the rule that the closer the light source is, the softer the light? That's a physical rule, so yes. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't trust that 100% completely, because in all honesty, it's way better to have your light fall off in order than the softness of your light. Because if you want softer lights, you can always use something like a diffusion panel, or you can use a white deflector instead of a silver one. So in essence, yes, because it's a simple rule of nature, so that won't change. But in reality, I would rather have my light fall off correctly and solve it with diffusion material. Next question.
How do you use your color checker?
Okay, how do I use my color checker? Well, in Capture One, the problem is that the color checker isn't supported. So what I do in Capture One is I will actually only use it for white balance. So Steffi now has it on white on my screen. So I will just use my white balance tool and just click here and then copy those to all the other files. But as you saw, all my files already have the proper color because I already use a profile that's connected for my camera. So that's also why sometimes during workshops I really have to push myself to shoot the color checker, because sometimes I forget for the very simple reason I already have that profile active and I know my strobes. So in Lightroom I always created a profile for the very simple reason the Capture One profiling for my camera is way better than it was ever in Lightroom. So that's where I really needed that color checker. Now if a customer demands accurate colors, that's when I actually do my raw conversion in Lightroom, because a lot of people ask me, hey Frank, now that you shoot with Capture One a lot and you do your raw conversion for fashion with Capture One, why do you still use the color checker? For the very simple reason, I shoot it because sometimes a client goes like, can you give me a perfect rendition? And then I use the color checker. And sometimes they do it after the fact, like, okay, I want the colors more real. Well, then I do the raw conversion in Lightroom, create a profile from the color checker, and at least I have it. If I would only use it with a white balance card, I would have that option, I would have destroyed that option. So that's why we still shoot color checkers, even if Capture One doesn't support it. Final question.
That was
That was the question? Okay, very quickly, let's go through the images, and then I'm going to let you guys go. But first I want to show you, of course, the links for the nice discounts. Here you can see actually that the light was a little bit too low on my model. And here it's okay. Now, as you can see here, it looks terrible, right? This isn't an interesting shot. This is absolutely horrendous. And here it's a little bit better, but the model doesn't pose yet. Here we go, okay. Now we start including the sun. Now you see the difference, what an angle makes. Boring shot. Great shot. Well, it's not a great shot, it's in my backyard, but it's at least it's much more interesting. Now cut the sun out, and what do you get? Less interesting. Here we go. Great, love it. Now really low angle. This is where everything for me starts to work its magic. Really love those low angles. Now as soon as he starts flipping her hair, this is actually where the quadra got into overheating. There we go with the new quadra. Let's see if we have one where the hair is absolutely amazing. This one is pretty cool. Love this one. There we go, that's the one. Give it 5 stars. This is okay. Pretty neat. It's not as good as the other one. Let's go up again. Okay, those were the images, I think. Okay, let's go into my rated images. I gave it a 5, so that should mean that it's already here. So let's see if it's here. And the only thing I now have to do is check if my focus is correct. Let's hope the focus is correct. Let's go to the loop. And it's spot on, even on 2.8. Now, a lot of people will tell you choosing the center focus point and recompose will never give you a sharp shot. You see, this is on 24mm, and that's actually where the recomposition makes the most difference between 24mm and recompose and 70mm, for example. On 70mm, the distortion is way less. So on 24mm and wide angles, this is where your parallax error, or however you want to call it, this is where it should be the most severe. And you see that it's pin and pin sharp, and everything else is actually out of focus in that area. So only the focus plane is in focus. So don't worry, just use the focus point in the middle and recompose. Okay, let's very quickly see what we can do with this shot only in Capture One, so not going into Lightroom. So open up this, give it a little bit more contrast. Let's kill the highlights just a little bit. Let's go into clarity, give it a little bit, not too much. Maybe a little bit of structure, that's nice. And now tinted, because also in Capture One you can do tinting. So go into user styles, and let's go into, for example, this one. Or let's make it black and white. Now cold steel. Oh, really love this. Now the cool thing about Capture One, it's a raw converter. So let's say I want to choose this one. This is the look, but I can still totally modify it over here because it is, again, a raw converter. Same thing in Lightroom. If you have your presets, you can tweak them afterwards. Let's say I want a little bit less red. Less red. There we go. A little bit on the top. We want a little bit more. Great. So this is very easy to do, and now I did all my retouching actually in Capture One. Can you do the skin? Yes, but then you have to get the video Capture One. Now, okay, I promised you guys some cool discounts, so let's go. The first discounts you can actually find on www.frankdoorhof.com. Oops. Yes. And then /MacFun. This is the first one. Now you can get their whole complete suite, and this is sweet. You get 6 powerful photography apps, including Snap Heal, in one kit. Normally it's $3.99, now it's only $129.99. And you can get Snap Heal, but as you can see, it's already included. But if you have the whole kit and you want Snap Heal, it's only $22. The other one, and this is where you can get all our videos. So you go to frankdoorhof.com and then actually /videos. We made it easy for you guys. Now the newest video is of course the one from Capture One, and it's now still priced at €10, but the original price is €15. So if you go online, it will be €15, but we had a very small window where it was only 10. We also have our Mastering the Model Shoot 3 Creativity, a video all about creativity. It's an awesome video. And Beyond Snaps on Street and Travel, and a lot more. And the other thing is, if you saw my presets and you think, that's interesting, I want to get the same looks that Frank does. I give you the same presets that I use, and it's actually on frankdoorhof.com/presets. And as you can see, you can get a Capture One preset pack, DxO, Alien Skin, and Analog FX Pro, Mac Fun Intensify, and Tonality. Now these are only priced at €10. And don't pay more. The presets are presets. Some people charge $1.99. Don't do it. That's a waste of your money. So, or I can't say that, of course, because it's the competition, you know. But I think $1.99 for presets, it's a little bit over the top. So €10, €15, 25, that's all okay. So that's it for what I wanted to tell you guys. And of course we want to, can you switch to the Logitech again? Thank you. Of course, we want to thank you all for watching. Now, one of the things that we really like for you guys to do is support us on Patreon. And Patreon is really cool. If you watch our daily video vlog called Behind the Closed Doors, in the end you can actually see a Patreon web link. Please use that and support us there, because that's what makes this all possible, that you guys get free material. That's it for today and a week. Do we have any more messages for the guys? Except, of course, register for the Ultimate Weekend, because that's going to be absolutely stunning. And we have a new digital classroom in September with Nadine. And she's going to do a lot of the styling, and it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be on September 14th. So make sure you're going to check that out. We're going to build sets. Now, what's a set? It's not something from tennis. But a set is something you can build yourself in your own home or studio. It's literally a set. I don't know any other word for it. It's a set. It's something where you can shoot against, and you have a couch in there or chairs. It's going to be awesome. So check that one out. And for now, I'm signing off because I'm melting. And I don't mean melting like an ice cream. I really mean I'm sweating because it's incredibly hot here, and we can't have any fans on, because then you guys don't hear my audio. So thank you so very much for watching. Are there any more questions in the end?
Just thank yous.
Okay, just thank yous. That's so, thank you so very much, guys. That's really great. Now the video will be uploaded. If there's a gap in the live stream, we will take that offline and upload the original one. So Steffi, you can go offline by clicking on top stream, and see you guys. And the other one too.